Hello and welcome to HexPed. HexPed is a game I'm developing loosely based on ants, bees and wasps and their life in the undergrowth. Let's start off by picking a species. So I get to pick a name. I'm going to call it the Jesters, and they are going to hopefully one day evolve into a nice bright colourful creatures. I get to pick my starting point. I can pick an ant, which is a herbivore, eat leaves and things like that, a bee which will drink nectar, and wasp which will hunt and kill other creatures. So depending on what kind of game you want to go down, you might want to pick a different style of things. Wasp is definitely more like real-time strategy. Bees are a bit more say farmy kind of type creatures, and ants are a bit more industrial. I'm going to go with ants because they're the simplest to start with. The food's quite abundant and there's not too much to think about. Okay, so let me pick a region to start in. I can pick pretty much anywhere in the world. Each different area have slightly different climates, different challenges. I don't want to go too hot because there will be not so much food knocking around, maybe some scorpions, but let me pick somewhere quite close to where I live and start from there. When the game starts, I will be just in control of the queen's decisions to lay pheromones, and this is how you control the game. I also pick what eggs to lay. At the moment I only have one choice because I haven't evolved my ants very much. They only can be herbivores, but later on in this little play I should be able to unlock the drones and the queens, which will help me expand to other areas. So let's build a few of these ants. The eggs will take a little time to hatch and off they go. They'll wander about in the area that I've defined with the pheromones, saying you can only go here. So let me expand that out a little bit and see if I can find something to eat. So off they wander, and got some rocks over here, nothing to eat there, though that could be useful to butting our base against there, so we, a bit of defense from one side. I can see a little chink of green over there, so let me wander up over there and probably we'll find some food. There's a plant here, but I might let that plant take a little bit of time to grow because they get pretty big and there's a lot of food stored up in these plants. So off they go, they pick up some leaves, take it back to the queen, and when they drop off the food, this bar on the right will start to expand and I will have more food to lay some more eggs. So let me fire out some more eggs. And as that plant died, its stalk turned into a useful bit of building material. I can use that to start building out the actual nest. So if I pick a nursery, which is a spot where these ants will drop the eggs and they'll develop a bit faster. So let me pick a spot to do that. Let me pick, well, as I said, I might want to start building out into here. A good place for a nursery. So I put one right next to the queen, so it's a little short journey. And as he drops that item there, we'll have a little bit of a nest. And it also expands the area what is considered the nest. If I hide the pheromones, you can see this a bit more clearly. It's the darker patch here. This area is where the ants are considered the nest. So if they pick up a bit of food, let's go back to the pheromones here. Once they've picked up any item and they've returned to the nest, they will not leave the nest with that item. So they might not end up, I can put a bit of options here. They'll go one way or the other. They will not leave the nest until they've used it. So got a bit more food here. Let's spam some more eggs, and you should hopefully see one of the ants pick up an egg because they love picking up the eggs and drop it off to the nest. Well, it can only take one at a time, so these other ants are sort of being a little bit wasted because they're hanging on to their egg. They know it shouldn't be lying on the floor, but they've got nowhere to put it. So the idea is you want to build efficiencies by having enough nests for little nurseries for it to drop the eggs into, and also it helps the eggs development being in a nursery. So let's put another nursery over here. I think I'm going to expand out into this area, maybe a couple over here and maybe a path into here. Nice bit of a safety from any predators that we are luckily not yet encountered. And let me pick some food. So go over here. I was going to wait for that to grow a bit bigger, but I've not found a lot because we seem to be surrounded by quite a few rocks. There's another flower over there, and maybe create another path to this one over here. So the strategy is basically being as efficient as you can with your creatures to get to these all important drones and queens. The more that you more eggs that you lay, and the quicker you'll get to these unlock these items or these casts. And once you have drones, you'll start to be able to build the drones, and they will fly off around the map and trying to find new territory to spread to, and that's followed by the queens. But we'll talk about that a bit later. So maintaining these paths and carry on. So you'll end up with a lot of ants wandering to a dead end path because they've used all the resources there. So it's really about maintaining, not exactly micromanaging because you're not controlling the ants directly, but maintaining these paths and these strategies. See, this one's all but gone. These two fellas, they'll come here, there's nothing to pick up. I can then, maybe I'll just expand out to here, but then I have a few choices. I might have decided to go over there. Let's just carry on building up the nest. Let's check out another feature. So I'll hide the pheromones, and you can see our nest has sort of expanded into here a bit. We've got a couple of more nurseries where they're going to drop off the eggs. Not all nurseries are in the same quality of position. So let's have a look at these two other items. You've got temperature. It's all pretty warm around here. And you've got exposure. These basically, you want everything to be green. These guys are nestled nicely against the rocks, so they're not very exposed. This one's a little bit further out and is quite exposed. So what I can do to combat that is to maybe build some walls around here. And to combat the temperature issue, I can build some vents. The vents will balance the temperature, so if you're in a hot place, it will cool. If you're in a cold place, it will warm. So these are my only 4 options I have at the moment, but as I evolve my HexPeds, they'll have various other items that they can build, depending on the species. So, for instance, if I'm a bee, I might be able to create little honey pots where I can start to turn nectar into honey, which will be a higher quality food. Okay, so getting good source of food. And as we saw, there's another rival colony quite close by. When I say rival, we can probably coexist quite happily if we don't come into contact. But as soon as the HexPeds are in the same hexagon as each other, they will start to have a bit of a fight. And the range in strength can be quite a lot. So you might need a lot to take down a bigger creature, for instance. So they look like they built a bit of a nest here, and this is my nest over here. So I'm going to probably try and grab as much of this food here before they expand over there and take it all. I might lose a few when they start to fight, but let's just see what happens. The food's coming in nicely. Need to building up my nursery quite nicely. Let's try and improve the air quality around here. Build that little vent I was talking about. It should cover a lot of this area. And maybe to minimize exposure. Alright, so these guys, they really are expanding out. My guys are still going into this area. Run out of food. Let's bail. I've left this one guy. He's got no pheromone path to follow. I'll let him just give me a bit more information by exploring, but it might mean the end of that little fella. Let's keep an eye on him. I don't want to retract this path while there's still HexPeds using it, because they will end up like this guy and not know where to go. One's fine. It's going to give me a lot of information about my neighbours, but I don't want to lose a whole bunch like that. These guys, not going anywhere at the moment. Let's need to expand out and take some food. So as it's taking me longer to manage these paths, I'm going to do a few at a time. You might think, why not just cover this whole area? You want to make sure the paths are efficient. So when they pick an item up, they might carry on in the same direction until they hit somewhere where they can't go. So you kind of want them to not just wander about aimlessly. If I build a large sort of, let me just demonstrate that here. I'll build a large big flat area here, and you'll see some ants wandering about in here aimlessly. They don't know where to go. if they're in this middle one, they have a choice of all of these spaces to go. You kind of want to limit their choices as much as you can, so they go the directions you want them to. They will start to pool here a little bit, doing absolutely nothing because of that. So let me get rid of that. And as you see, this fella, he lost the pheromone tracks, wandered up there, but that's useful scouting. Look at the size of that plant. And I have filled up my bar here. I can build some more eggs, but I just want to show you on the left hand side of the screen, you've got the hibernate button. At any point when you've had enough and you've got a full stomach, you can hibernate, but at the moment I won't pick up any loot or extra genes. When you expand and get your drones to fly to the edges of the map and then the queens, you'll fill up these slots here and allow you to expand new territories, give you new places to play in, but also it will give you some extra genes which will allow you to evolve your creature in any which way you want. Let's look at this path over here again. You see how quickly they ripped through it because there's a lot of them. But anyway, let's build some more eggs. Let's keep going. Some more neighbours to the north here. They don't look particularly friendly. They're fighting. Is that one of my guys? I think it is. And they took him out. There was 3 of them, so I don't know how strong they are, but they don't look like people I want to bump into. Well, HexPeds I don't want to bump into. And let's carry on up here. Right, so because of my neighbours not looking too pleasant, I'm sort of going a bit right, but unfortunately I've got a big massive rock here. Need some soil. Basically there's I mean, this guy's picking up a stalk over here, but the stalk is just a bit of a byproduct from the death of that plant. I kind of need some soil. Soil comes in bigger clumps and I'll be able to do a lot more with it around building up my nest. There's a patch over here actually, so let's start doing that. Send some crew over there, and do you know what I might do, because we do have some nasty looking neighbours, start to build up some walls which will reduce the chance of them coming into the nest and also funnel them into spots where I will also have a lot of HexPeds. So they'll grab that, and let me think about this a little bit. If I build a little bit of a nursery around here, because I want a good sized nursery for when I'm starting to spam out queens and drones, because they take quite a while to hatch, particularly the queens. So let me just think about this for a moment. Let me check the temperature. Alright, the vent here has reduced the temperature, or balanced the temperature to a nice level for these 2 nests here, and slightly better for these guys over here. And the exposure, pretty exposed over here, but all my nests seem to be in the green area, so that's pretty good. But if I expand over here, I want to make sure the exposure and the temperature is good, so I need to consider those items when laying the nest. I need to make sure I can get them the ants to the nursery, or the HexPeds to the nurseries, to be able to use them. But I also, yeah, let's build the vent here. Path up here, get some more of that leaves. These guys are going nowhere again. Let's carry on going up here, see if I can get some more. These guys, let's stretch that out to there. See, there's some more efficient paths available, but at the time it takes me to reorganize these guys to go there, I might as well just carry on. And you often see that in ants. You'll often see them doing some crazily long journeys. They're not always going to work out the most efficient way, and it's really a battle of utilizing your time well. Do you want to spend some time faffing around organizing the paths? See, this little trick I'm sure there's lots of little tricks, but this one here, all right, I'm not losing anything by doing this, because every single HexPed is slightly every single HexPed was next to a path, so it knew where to carry on going. But I also could slightly make that more efficient by not having that little loop up there. Okay, so need to add a few more nurseries, maybe here. Yeah, let's wall in that area there, make a bit of path up there. Because I built a bit of a nest over here, let me remove the pheromones again so you can see what here. This little nest is cut off. So these guys have gone into the nest and they won't leave there until they've done whatever they need to with their item. So they're a little bit confused, but luckily the completion of that event joined those two up and these guys are back in with the rest of them. Okay, oh look, we look like we had a bit of a fight. They lost one guy, we lost another guy, but that's not too bad. When I say guy, they're all girls actually, aren't they? In nature, the bees and the wasps and the ants, all the workers are females. The drones, just the useless meeting creatures. Which was probably not too different to human society. Okay, so it's going to complete that wall there. Let's have a look at the exposure for these nests, and the temperature's pretty good. The exposure's pretty bad on these two. Did we even finish them yet? Oh no, we haven't finished. There's no nests over here yet. Alright, let me create a nice little... what were these? These were nurseries, yeah. Oh, maybe they weren't actually. Yeah, let's create a nice little triangle nursery there and connect it with a path up here. Spam a few more out there. We're almost up to the point where we can unlock some drones. Look how quickly they're filling up. I've got a load of food coming in. Lots and lots of eggs. That's, you see, I need more and more of these nurseries to really utilise that. So maybe really expand that out and finally finish it off. Let's keep the nest to this sort of size and then finish it off with a nice little wall. And let's utilise that. You are going to be cut adrift. I'm going to let that guy cut adrift over here and just maybe expand, wander around and scout some of that area for me. One of the casts you can unlock later is a scout. That's a bit more precise in its scouting, rather than just wandering around, and you don't even have to cut it adrift. It will automatically just go and find new areas. So, right, I'm going to collect that soil and then maybe loop down here and collect these. Some big old plants over there. Okay. Alright, we're not far from building some drones. These guys are worrying me a bit, but luckily I've got a good old defense here, nice wall around here. If they have to come into the nest, they will be faced with a lot of these guys, and numbers can really do it for you in little battles. Oh, here we go. I've actually unlocked the drone. I will put sand in the game later to help me notice that. So they take a little bit more food, but I've built one. Let me build a few of those and you should hopefully see them develop and then start to do their thing. Let me zoom out a little bit. So at the moment I can see a little bit of what's going in the local area. I could have spent more time scanning around, but to be fair, I found most of what I need. Spam some more drones. I found most of what I need locally. This is quite a nice, relatively easy start. Lots and lots of plants. Nothing too dangerous knocking about. Okay, so more and more drones. Let's see if I can spot what has developed yet. So yeah, as I was saying, I can see there's something I don't really want. He won't come into the nest, but he'll take out anyone who's around on the outside. So the drones will not add. They do what they're meant to do, but also here's one flying off here. Let's see how he gets on. They will also, because they don't follow the pheromones, their goal is just to basically find the edges of the map, so they can expand to new regions. So off on his way, he stumbled straight into a nest. Oh, he landed right on their queen. He's having a bit of a fight, but I don't imagine he'll survive. He could end up, if the ants don't come to, the other HexPeds don't come to help him out, he could end up destroying that, which could be quite useful. Alright, let's follow this guy. He's also stumbled straight into the nest. See, that could be a good old reason why I might have wanted to take out my neighbours, but he's gonna nip around the outside with any joy. And Anyway, so he's shown me a lot more of the map by just literally flying off and doing their thing. So you enter this sort of second stage of the game where you can start to see what's really going on around you. You've sort of developed in sort of with a bit of lack of vision of what's going on, and but then you get to sort of see if there's anything else you want to take advantage of before you hibernate on the map. Okay, well, it'll take a while for the drones to reach their goal, and when I get to the unlocked queens, I'm not just over halfway there, so I might just leave that here for now. You can see, let me just hide the pheromones so you can see the glory of the the nest. This is working pretty well. Lots of hexpeds wandering around, picking up the food. I could probably have done this a bit better, but look, see these guys once again not doing anything because I've not looked after the paths. That's your goal, look after these paths. But you get the general gist of it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I'll have another video up soon, and hope you'll watch it. Thank you, bye.